Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Kayla Eddy, and my topic for my position paper looks at how colorism in the media affects young girls of color. And I want to focus especially on dark skinned girls, how they're portrayed in social media, and the effect that it has on impressionable young girls. Now, I just want to give some background on what exactly colorism is. So, that is discrimination based on skin color, and it's a form of prejudice or discrimination, usually within or from members of the same race, but it doesn't always have to be from within the same race. And colorism also tends to negatively affect the darker skinned individuals of that race. Why is this important? So, though we're seeing a rise in the popularity of dark skin in social media, it does show that we're getting somewhere, but I would like to explore what led us there in the first place. And dark-skinned women still face harsh comments on social media, and I'd like to look at how that affects young girls. And also, it's just important to just upkeep conversations and make the media aware of how it's affecting young black girls. Now, before I start explaining my sources, I just wanted to show how colorism is just subtly in the media. So when I did an internet search I just searched black girls on Pinterest, um, and I selected a social media Instagram, and then I also selected body, which is just a word associated with being attractive or like being perceived as attractive. And I just took a screenshot of the first two rows, and like just by looking at it, I can see that there are people it's mostly comprised of people of a lighter complexion, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just why aren't we seeing people of a darker complexion also portrayed like first in any of these? And I also did one on Instagram, which is to the right, and we do see girls of lighter complexion in specifically black girls of light complexion in the first few rows of that. So I just thought that was a way that it subtly exposes colorism in the media. Okay, now I want to get into my source one. So this is colorism of black women in news editorial photos. And just to explain, this article speaks to favoritism shown to more Eurocentric looking black women than Afrocentric looking black women in news editorial photos. It explores the advantages one gives over the other. Additionally, we come face to face with the negative effects it has. I feel like this is pertinent to my topic as it not only gives evidence that colorism actually does occur in the media, but it also says that it gives its damaging effects of it. Okay, so my source two, Pride and Prejudice, Pervasiveness of Colorism and the Animated Series Proud Family. This source explains how, from a young age, we are subconsciously exposed to colorism in such a simple way, such as watching cartoons. It argues that the Proud Family pushes negative stereotypes of young black women. This source looks at something so simple as cartoons and analyzes how it perpetuates the negative stereotypes of young dark skinned women. An example they specifically gave in the piece is how they portrayed the Grove sisters, which were three sisters in the show, and they were seen as the villains in the show. And one piercing feature about them is that they had blue skin. And within the black community, there's a saying that your skin is so dark that it turned blue, so it almost appears blue when people see you if you're very dark. And that's just a way to show that the Grove sisters are dark skinned girls, and then they villainize them within the show. Um, and it also explains how that can also have a negative effect on young black girls and how they perceive themselves. Color Stories, Black Women and Colorism in the 21st Century. This source touches on how darker skinned women are done wrong in the media. It keeps with the theme of being portrayed in bad light. This book touches on how the hypersexualization of dark skinned girls, and it also touches on the negative connotations associated with them. Unlike my first two sources, this actually touches on the sexualization of dark skinned girls and how it negatively affects them in the long run. And it explores similarly the effect it has on a dark skinned girl's perceived self worth. Okay, my source for Colorizing Self Esteem Among African American Young Women, Linking Skin Tone, Parental Support, and Sexual Health. Though this paper focuses on a lot of sexual health, it does make mention on the damaging effect of colorism on dark skinned girls in other forms of media. This gives similar information as my topics above and therefore strengthens my arguments for this topic. So it does touch on a lot of topics outside of media, but there's one specific a few paragraphs in there which do touch on media, and it also just explains what I was talking about in my other sources, that they're portrayed negatively in the media and it does also affect their perceived self worth. My source 5, Blackbirds, Works of a Woman Unfolding. This source is a collection of poems depicting the experience of dark skinned girls and their influence in the media in their experience. It touches on topics specifically related to colorism in media. Its first poem, For a Dark Skinned Girl, looks at the juvenile experience of one girl at a dance. And in this poem, we see how, in such a social setting, she thinks of colorism and how she sees it in the media and how it makes other people see her in such a social setting such as a dance. And it also touches on how it affects her confidence and her perceived self-worth. um, and this is similar to a lot of my other sources, as I stated above, about how this affects young dark skinned girls. Okay, so that brings us to the end of my presentation. As I said before, the topic is how colorism in the media affects young girls of color, specifically dark skinned girls in social media. And again, it was a personal topic for me, so that's why I chose to research it. And yeah, thank you for listening.